It's the golden age of Diamondbacks baseball right now, I think. Like, you've got a consistently good regular season team, right? Putting itself firmly in playoff contention. And you've got now a starting rotation that can go head-to-head with anybody. And I think when you talk about Corbin Burnes and Zac Gallen and how the rotation kind of falls out here is like Corbin Burnes gives you that absolute fifth-day starter ace stopper. The Arizona Diamondbacks GM Mike Hazen come from the clouds and immediately put the Arizona Diamondbacks in contention to beat the Dodgers in the NL West. Brack, Damon dog, an exciting announcement about PHNX Dbacks you don't want to miss, and the details about Corbin Burnes' new contract. Damon, initial thoughts as things kind of become official here as the Dbacks get a new ace.
Well, I mean, just to start things off, I think it was kind of insane. We have nothing to talk about with Corbin Burnes on our channel right now. And so we just got to it. We were like, it's the biggest story in Arizona sports. Yeah. We got to talk about it. Initially, it just seems like the Diamondbacks are going for it, right? Like you have Zac Gallen, one more year on his contract here. He's been the ace before this season. I think Corbin Burnes maybe slots in, maybe as that 1A to Zac Gallen's 1B now. And you have 2 years of both of those guys with Merrill Kelly as well. Really strong frontline rotation. Honestly, a pretty strong back end of the rotation too. And the Diamondbacks certainly are not rolling over and dying in the NL West with the Dodgers. Kind of reloading off of a World Series and getting even better. Yeah, I mean, the Dodgers, obviously the headlines, they continue to make moves with disgusting amount of deferred money, and they're hoisting the trophy at the end of the year. And of course, you got the Padres, who are like this team that pushed the Dodgers to the brink. And those are the two teams in the NL West. And then, here's this team that actually had more regular season victories than their World Series appearance. Mm-hmm. It's the golden age of Diamondbacks baseball right now, I think. Like, you've got a consistently good regular season team, right? Putting itself firmly in playoff contention. And you've got now a starting rotation that can go head-to-head with anybody. And I think when you talk about Corbin Burnes and Zac Gallen and how the rotation kind of falls out here is like Corbin Burnes gives you that absolute fifth-day starter ace stopper. Like, things are trending wrong. He's going to go out there. He's going to give you 6 to 7 strong innings, if not more. He's made 30 starts or more in his last 3 seasons. And I think that that's what separates him right now from Gallen. Not to take any shots at the milkman, but, he hasn't been like available as Corbin Burnes. Yeah, I mean, Zac Gallen he's had inconsistency problems, right? Like Zac Gallen is... He's a guy where when he's on, he almost has better stuff than anyone in baseball, but he isn't always on that level. Yeah. And I think Corbin Burnes just is that consistency that you're talking about, where that's what you're getting out of Corbin Burnes. I mean, you look at his last 3 seasons, a 2.92 ERA, a 3.39, and a 2.94 the year before that. Two sub 3 seasons there. I think he has one Cy Young in that time frame as
2021.
Yeah. And he really is just one of the best pitchers in baseball. And this is, as far as the golden age of Diamondbacks baseball, as you mentioned, this is the biggest contract the Diamondbacks have handed out. This is, Ken Kendrick, he's putting some deferred money into this deal. The Diamondbacks taking advantage of baseball's, lofty and ridiculous contract rules. And, you love to see it if you're a Diamondbacks fan, because this was not going to be an easy task to compete next year. Yeah. This is... I think the AL East and the NL West are consistently the 2 best divisions in baseball. Yeah. When you look at it, it's just a gauntlet in those divisions year in and year out. After a year with 89 wins, like you said, improved upon a World Series, like didn't make playoffs, came up just short. Corbin Burnes hopefully pushes you into that postseason.
No doubt about it.
Baseball, I mean, anything happens once you get in the dance.
Yeah, and we'll get into like what's left after the Burnes signing, but it's so exciting. Like, and you say, whoa. I mean, they won a World Series in 2001, but you look at that shelf life of that. They go from expansion team in 98 to, spending a ton of money in 99, 2000, 2001. And then by 2004, they have to make mortgage payments that they can't afford. And then it's over, right? And it's a big 111 loss season after that. And it's a mess where I think, Mike Hazen, with all the spending going on from the Dodgers and, of course, what happens in San Diego, willing to spend, prime prospects to improve their big league roster. Like, you're right. I mean, the NL West is just each and every year a gauntlet. Poor Giants, they want to spend, but nobody wants to go to San Francisco.
They're trying to get the top free agent like every season at this point.
Right. So in like, along with the winning in the regular season, and of course in the postseason in 2023 is the exciting offseason. Like, it's a hot stove offseason for the Dbacks the last two.
I tweeted that at somebody actually when the move first happened. Somebody was kind of like, putting their cape on for Ken Kendrick. And I was saying he's getting on my good side. Like, I'm not fully on the, team Ken Kendrick, fan club, like leading the army, but he is like, the last few years have been like, they've been flawless. You can't ask anything more out of like a small market type of owner than what he's given the last couple of seasons here. Even Jordan Montgomery, like it was a disaster. It didn't pan out, but like, you love to see a move like that off of a World Series. Like, here's a, semi low risk deal that won't derail the entire franchise if it works out the way it ended up working out. But, Ken Kendrick is like, it does feel like he's kind of turned a corner here, and maybe the Diamondbacks doing better a little bit financially as a franchise is helping out, doing a little bit better with fan attendance, but that's kind of always been the thing, right? It's a chicken or the egg situation. Right. Do you get more fans by being better at baseball, or do you get better at baseball? It's kind of like a weird.
You got to spend money to make money, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And the Arizona Diamondbacks seem to be in that kind of sweet spot right now.
Yeah,
doing that, and they're spending it on the field, and that's fantastic as far as what Corbin Burnes can do for this team. I look at it like his contract, and we'll get into the little details here, but like 6 years. 210 at best, the Zac Greinke deal. To me, it reminds me of who Greinke was a little bit, with more upside. Like, Greinke didn't have the frame that Corbin Burnes has. He didn't have the ability to sustain like high velocity during his Diamondbacks tenure, where I think Burnes probably has the ability to do that. His strikeout numbers, second most strikeouts, I believe, in the bigs in the last 5 seasons for Burnes, and the lowest ERA during that stretch as well. Greinke kind of a similar age frame as Burnes, but it's more reminiscent to me of the RJ signing back, in the late 90s. I'm not saying he's going to win 4 Cy Youngs and be as dominant, but he's going to be the guy that you can hand the ball to, and he's going to go deep into the games relative to the era of baseball we're in.
Yeah.
And he's going to be able to shorten that bullpen that everybody, I think, still is concerned about. But Corbin Burnes, like, the strikeout numbers are there. And here's what I love about Burnes. Just like RJ, he wanted to be here in the Valley. Like, that was his number one factor as far as signing here. He wanted to be here in Phoenix, Scottsdale area. He wanted to be a part of this Arizona Diamondbacks organization, just like Randy Johnson. And like, I love that. Like, that's the way you can get to me. It's like, you want to be here, you want to build something special here and be a part of something that hasn't been done. You don't go join the Yankees. You just join the Dodgers and their deferred money. There's some deferred money. I mean, I think it's fantastic. I think that's what kind of separates Corbin Burnes. He went against the grain. He didn't take the highest paycheck. He said, this is what fits me and my family best, and I can go and do what I've been doing with the Brewers and the Orioles here in the desert.
Absolutely. I mean, you mentioned other teams that he was involved talking to. There's a reported offer for a $250 million contract on the table from him from an ALS East team. I'm assuming that's the Blue Jays, although it could be the Orioles. But 210 here in Arizona for Corbin Burnes, and like you said, like, he lives here in the off season. Living in this city, in this place, was everything that it made this deal. It's been widely reported that this deal kind of came out of nowhere. Like, the Diamondbacks weren't exactly hitting up Corbin Burnes and his agent saying, hey, like, what do you think about playing for the Diamondbacks? It was actually the other way around. Corbin Burnes saying, hey, Mike Hazen, what do you
over here?
Yeah, what do you say about, what if I maybe took a little bit less money and I got to live here where I want to be? And you love to see that as a fan. That's the type of stuff that makes you just like go to war for a guy. Like, Corbin Burnes automatically endearing himself to Arizona sports fans. And just like you mentioned he's just such a good pitcher. Like, you mentioned the strikeout numbers, his fastball velocity up there in the 91st percentile. Like, he's just, his baseball savant page is just, it's all red.
It's pretty.
Yeah, it is. I would say it looks like Christmas, but there's no green on it.
No
anymore.
Green.
Yeah.
He gives up a couple bombs, right? He's given over 20 home runs the last couple seasons in a row. But
Corbin Carroll hit a bomb off of him in game one of the divisional series.
The Corbin to Corbin is now it's here in the desert, and I can't wait for that Buddy Cop show to do it on the bump and, of course, in the batter's box. But so the details, and then also what this means for what's left for Mike Hazen and the Snakes to do this offseason.
Yeah, I think you said details of the contract. Yeah, I think we mentioned most of it. There's a no trade clause in there. I don't think we've said that part of it yet. So obviously, with him wanting to be here in Arizona, you would have to assume that was like maybe one of the first things he put on the table is, hey, if I'm signing this deal for less money, it's because I want to be here and you're not getting rid of me and moving me somewhere else.
Right.
Another big factor is there is a opt-out, I believe, after the first 2 seasons of the contract, in which if he opts out, he's a free agent, obviously. If he opts in, then the Diamondbacks have him for 4 more seasons at $25 million a year. So yeah, I mean, it's some interesting stipulations in there. It's the difference between having him for 2 years or 6 years.
Right.
I kind of have to assume at age 32, he's probably going to open that free agency back up.
Be a good thing for the Diamondbacks because it means the performance was there.
Sure. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if he feels like, hey, he can go best what he got this offseason, that means he's still pitching at a very high clip.
Yeah, no doubt about that. But it also could mean you let Zac Gallen walk and then now Corbin Burnes is a free agent. You don't have either starting pitcher kind of locked in long term. So, that'll be something to monitor. But
you just don't want him to go the way of Jordan Montgomery, where it's like the performance isn't there. He's like, oh, crap, I'm not going to be able to get this and command this in free agency. Yeah. Your boy's just going to opt in and just take that payday for the next 4 seasons.
I think Corbin Burnes, as you've mentioned, he's a little bit too much of a power pitcher. Like he's just one of those guys who he just is different. Like Jordan Montgomery was more of a command guy. Like, and when you lose that command, you stink.
Right.
Like it goes automatically. It goes out the window. Like a Corbin Burnes is like, he's genuinely like overpowering you.
Yeah.
And he's throwing it by you. He's just, he's that good. And I think that just the way that those guys pitch, like a Zac Greinke you mentioned earlier, he signed with the Dbacks at 32 versus 30 for Corbin Burnes. Yeah. But in Zac Greinke, his game was never velocity. Like he was never
right.
So he actually did age decently well for the Arizona Diamondbacks because he was able to kind of keep that location because that was always his main thing. Throws a ton of pitches. So I think that if we're talking about Corbin Burnes maybe at like age 36, that's a different pitcher. But he should be elite of the elite, one of the 10 best pitchers in baseball for at least these next 2 years here on this contract.
Yeah, I agree. I think 2 to 4 years, right?
Yeah,
definitely. And that would be a big win for the Diamondbacks. And he's one of those guys where his stuff is so good where he gets in a jam, he can pitch his way out of it.
Yeah.
Now, as far as what it means for what do the Diamondbacks have left to do, of course, haven't talked about the Naylor trade. I think he comes in and people look at the position and are like, is he the replacement for Christian Walker? But I think is he more of a Jock replacement as far as what he brings?
I've floated that. I haven't seen too many people talking about that all that much.
Yeah.
But I've said like, hey, the Diamondbacks, they still need a right-handed hitter with power.
Yeah.
That is, when you look at the team and you look at you scroll down the list, what do we need? It's either a first baseman or a DH that hits from the right side of the plate and can put the ball over the fence.
Yeah.
And I think absolutely you can put, Josh Naylor, a guy who, was 61st in range, outfield outs above average, but 25th in arm strength. I guess he's a first baseman. That doesn't really matter.
Right.
But he's not an exceptional first baseman. 7th percentile in sprint speed, pretty slow. You've seen there are a lot better first basemen in the league. Not that he's detrimental to your team type of bad.
It's not a liability.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it just gives you more options that you can use where you can go out there and find the best deal, right? Like you can go out there and you can say, what do we get better value for this guy who's a DH, who's a righty, who can maybe split time with ADC and Pavin Smith at DH from the left side of the plate? Or do we look at more of a right-handed hitter? Naylor can play DH more full-time, and then you get a guy, who's a righty in at that first base slot.
The lineup, even with the people who exited, and they were big losses for the offense, but it was still the offense that was at the top of the big leagues as far as runs scored. So if you could give anywhere, it was probably there. Let's look at the pitching side of things. Burnes, Gallen, no matter however you want to slot them. Merrill Kelly, Brandon Pfaadt.
Yep.
Eduardo Rodriguez.
Yep.
And then you start to look as okay, this bullpen, but you got 2 guys that can go 6 strong, 3 guys that can go 6 strong consistently with your top 3 guys from Burnes to Kelly with Gallen in between. It's okay, let's look at this bullpen. Everybody's talking about the return potentially of Dre Jameson. What else does this bullpen need? and who you're looking at to kind of finish games for this team.
I mean, I think that you look at this team and you say they could use a closer.
Yeah.
There's not a set closer. Paul Sewald's a free agent. J. Mart got a lot of run at that closer spot last year. He's still really young. I don't know if you want to make him that closer full time or if you feel comfortable with that as a team that has World Series aspirations. Mm-hmm. And it has been reported that the Diamondbacks were in on Devin Williams before the Yankees traded for him. And that wasn't, they didn't get, it's not like the Yankees traded a whole lot for Devin Williams. They traded, I believe, Nestor Cortez, who will live in Yankees infamy now for the rest of his career.
Right.
It's not as if he had much trade value. Like everyone in the world knew that Nestor Cortez was going to get traded this offseason. And so, I would have loved to see the Diamondbacks make that move for Devin Williams. And I think that it just goes to show that they're not comfortable in the bullpen. Right. I think they think AJ Puck is a guy that can be the closer. And if they go into the season and AJ Puck and Justin Martinez are splitting that closer spot, you're not in the worst spot. But imagine if you can use AJ Puck as your left-handed specialist against Ohtani, Freeman in big games against the Dodgers. Yeah. And you don't have to use him in the 9th. You can throw him in the 7th when those guys are due up in the order. I think that that's the ideal bullpen that you see for this organization.
I think you tab Martinez early because what did we see last year? What have we seen the last 2 years? Like the peaks and the valleys of a season. Like you can dig yourself in a hole a little bit and you can get yourself out of it. Like if you let J Mart go in there and get acclimated to those high leverage situations, like could it benefit you down the line? There's a lot of red on that.
J Mart's baseball savant page. I mean, he's a little bit of a freak and an alien, so it's like kind of you take it with like this is all like very athleticism based, but it's unbelievable. The guy you look at that and be like, wow, is this the best closer in baseball? It's really nuts. Like fastball velo is literally 100th percentile. Right. He throws the fastest average fastball in the entire league.
And it moves. It's disgusting. And it's like you see like Chauncey and in Cleveland and you see like so many different guys, Duran. I mean, it's just guys that if can you just put them in and they get those reps and they feel more comfortable. I think it's worth a risk early on. And then you've got the starting rotation that can stabilize things throughout the season and the offense, presumably, like I think that you lean on that, but I think you got enough arms in there. If you add one more, and you don't have to break the bank, you should be in a pretty good spot. Yeah,
I saw there was some speculation Kirby Yates was someone the Diamondbacks had some interest in. And Kirby Yates had a really good season last year. Just give me one quick second here to look this up. He had a 1.17 ERA, Bo, a 7-2 record. I mean, 33 saves. Like, I don't know that that's sustainable. All-star for the Rangers last year. You don't expect a sub 1.2 ERA.
Yeah.
But obviously, a starting pitcher at 37 years old or a relief pitcher at 37 years old who had maybe the best season of his entire career last year and is like that. It would just be that extra infinity stone to the gauntlet just to round out the what we have in that bullpen already.
So much to be excited about as being a Dbacks fan, including here on PHNX Sports, the triumphant return of Derek Montilla. Of course, our guy, the PHNX mayor, is staying where he rightfully deserves to be, right here at PHNX Sports. He will continue to anchor PHNX Dbacks coverage. We're excited to tell you about that. Make sure you're following him out on Twitter at Captain Caveman. Follow Damon at Damon Dog. And, of course, make sure you subscribe to PHNX Sports and check out PHNX_Diamondbacks on Twitter. The Cardinal or the Dbacks, man, I'm going back to my show. The Dbacks, are they contenders for the NL West with this move? And what moves do you want to see made after this? Drop a comment. Of course, leave a like here on PHNX Sports.